This is Not for the Average with Trent Leyshan.
So I'm going to, in typical fashion, I'm going to hit you between the eyes with my first question.
Go for it.
What makes a great sales leader in 2025?
Oh, 2025.
Yeah,
okay.
I've upgraded it.
Interesting. Do you know, to be honest, Trent, I don't think that there's huge, big revelations in what makes a sales leader from decades ago to today. I think there's some slight tweaks, but I think the foundations are relatively the same. So if I was to think about it, and my opinion is energy is one. Like, you have to bring energy to that role. It's really hard to follow someone who doesn't bring energy into the job every day. So I'm always really conscious about how you turn up for work every day. That's really important. Thinking about the vision that you have. So what is the vision that you're trying to drive the team for? And having real clarity around that. So I think you've got to be able to communicate that well. You've got to build people on that journey, and you've got to really be able to kind of highlight those little steps that need to happen along the way. So I think vision and clarity are super important. I also think there's an element of accountability. So you can't achieve anything good without being accountable. So I think a lot of people get a bit scared about the word accountability. Sometimes it turns into the word micromanage. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm saying, like, if you're going to own something and going to build something, you've got to be accountable for it. And that means that we've got to kind of measure things along the way, and we've got to have some really step goals. And that isn't personal. It's actually about just achieving a really great outcome and rewarding those things along the way as well. And then finally, I think emotional intelligence is really important for a sales leader. I think the best people I've worked for have a real way of connecting with lots of different people on lots of different levels. And I think that's important when you're trying to build a team of different people.
Which is essentially people skills.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that's really going to change. I don't see that it does. There's obviously some fancy things that changes every year, like how you kind of work with social media, the different demographics, the language that we use, but fundamentals are still the same. I've been in this world for a long time, and there's not a lot that changes, even though you really want it to. You want it to be really sexy and interesting, but actually it's pretty consistent and boring.
The fundamentals don't change a lot, do they? But it's mastering the fundamentals in any activity. Doesn't matter what profession. The fundamentals you have to master. I just want to come back a little bit, Nat, to just drilling into accountability a bit more. Put a little bit of meat on the bone there for me if you can.
I think it's for someone in your team to understand what they need to deliver week in, week out, which actually then relates to the overall vision. So they need to understand how their piece of work and their lane that they're working in actually then feeds into that overall vision for the company. And there needs to be some really specific steps in that. So whatever the role is, what are the things that you need to do week in, week out consistently to drive that behavior? So, Trent, I'm a big sports person. And so for me, if I think about, if you want to achieve something in sports, you have to just do the same thing over and over and over again until you get really good. And so it's the same in sales. So, if you want to be an amazing salesperson, you got to pick up the phone every day. You've got to go and see people every day. You've got to have the same conversations over and over again. And that's what builds a really great salesperson, sales leader over years, I think. As a leader, you then have to hold people accountable to that. So that can sometimes feel uncomfortable, but I think if you have a really good working relationship and that you're actually explaining to people, this isn't personal, this is, hey, like, this is just about how we achieve great things. You have a check-in point every week and go, hey, going with that, how's it working? What's not working? What can I help with you? Is it working so well that you need to stretch it a bit more? It's those sorts of conversations that I think hold people accountable to the consistent things they need to do.
Which is coaching.
Coaching, yeah.
Can't have an elite team without a coach.
That's exactly right. That's
it's
how
very
I see
rare.
it as well.
It's very rare.
Yeah,
when I heard Nick Kyrgios had no coach, I was like, that's not going to end well. Do you know he went through a phase where he had no coach?
I did know that. And, it explains a little bit, right? So I think coaches are there to keep you in check as well, right? Not just from a performance perspective, from a mental perspective, from an emotional perspective. And if you have all of that, if you don't have that in place, like, things can go off the rails pretty quickly.
Do you consider yourself a salesperson?
Yeah, I am.
At your core?
At my core, I'm a salesperson, for sure. I love P&Ls. I love to deliver numbers. That's who I am, for sure. Yep.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Number arousal.
Yeah, number
Spreadsheet.
arousal.
Well, I commonly refer to that as spreadsheet arousal. Some people just love spreadsheets. They love Excel. They eat numbers for breakfast.
It's so true. It's really funny you say that because I was doing some spreadsheeting the other night for my personal life, and my partner was absolutely giving me a fair bit of stick about that and how dorky I am that I spreadsheet everything. Yeah, I do, right?
Yeah.
Like it comes back to that accountability. Like anything you want to achieve in life, you need to know what are the inputs that need to happen to get the output.
Well, look, there's nothing better than just a nice glass of red and a spreadsheet, just to relax on a Friday evening. Just get in the zone.
I
Love it.
know how it's so bad, isn't it? But so true, right? Like, yeah. So no, I am a
There's,
sales leader.
can I just dig in here a little bit? I talk about this quite a bit, which is salespeople being seduced into chasing numbers and business owners and leaders being seduced into chasing numbers. And they get so obsessed with the numbers that they really disregard the customer or they
Yep,
disregard the team sometimes. And that can be a real danger because ultimately we need the numbers, they're a proof point. Ultimate measure,
correct.
any scoreboard. Scoreboard pressure, number one pressure. We know that. But if you're just focused on the numbers, it can create a numbers driven culture. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, to be honest. Yeah, I've just recently moved companies, and one of the reasons I've moved is for the culture of the business. And what I've noticed most of all is it's a holistic approach. And so everyone feeds into the overall outcome, but at the center of it, it is the client or the customer or the broker that we're dealing with in our particular space. And everything we do is to how to actually make that process better for that particular person. And then that then drives the internal behavior. Whereas I guess in the past, I've definitely worked for exactly the kind of environment you're thinking about, which is it's more of an internal focus. And then we think about how we actually go external. And it drives some really bad behavior. It, I think what happens over time is the wrong measurables are put in place. It creates really wrong behavior for individuals. Then you have this really conflicting culture that's happening. It's not the greatest environment. Whereas I think if you actually have the external first and work backwards, everyone's kind of trying to strive for that right outcome, and it brings you back, and it really like hones your focus. So that creates a much better culture in my limited experience with that, for sure.
There's a, I guess it's thrown around a lot, which is customer centricity. Very
Yeah.
easy to say, much harder to deliver on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw it in the Banking Royal Commission, right? Like, I'm a banker, so this stuff is nerdy, I know, but this is exactly what I do. And this is what happened. We forgot about the client as, the financial services industry, and the whole industry was turned upside down. And some really awful stories came out of that period of time because we just forgot about the customer. Like, we actually were just so focused on delivering a bottom line, and it hurt everyone in the process. Whereas I think now we're a bit more balanced, actually. Like, we probably went a little bit too far from a risk perspective, but I feel like it's starting to come back into balance around what's right for a client, but also how do we maintain a really profitable business at the same time.
Yeah, win-win.
Yeah,
Win, win, win.
it's not hard.
Red, no, it's not. Shouldn't be hard. Just get out there and show a bit of love.
Yeah,
Just get out there and
exactly.
love your customers. That's not shouldn't be too hard, surely.
No.
I think it's hard for the salespeople to give love if they're not getting love from the
Yeah.
business, and I think that can be part of the problem as well.
Yeah, sure.
How did you arrive where you are right now today at RedZed? I know RedZed because I follow the mighty Melbourne Storm.
Ah, great. Fantastic.
I know the brand, but I don't know a lot about the business.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, that's great that you know the brand. Many people do know the brand because of Melbourne Storm, which is awesome. And our relationship with them is great and ongoing, and really kind of fruitful. But definitely, the business is a really great business for self-employed. So we do lending to self-employed clients. So we do home lending and some commercial lending as well, specifically to self-employed. So that is our market. So for me, that is appealing for a number of reasons. I grew up in a family with self-employed people. So my dad, both my parents are immigrants from Scotland, and my dad has always been self-employed since he started. And so I grew up around the dining room table discussing finances, how bills were getting paid, creditors and debtors, all of those sorts of things along my journey. So I always had a passion in that space. And then I was also involved in business as well in my past marriage. Like, there was very large businesses in there. So it's always been ingrained, I guess, in who I am as a person. But I ended up in finance, well, actually because of that story. So my dad used to take me to the bank every Friday to get his money out for the weekend, which is kind of funny. This is a long time ago. And I was so intrigued by the tellers. Like, there was just something about that process of them counting money and the interactions they had. And they just knew my dad intimately, and he loved going there. And that was my sort of first interaction with banking. And so I really loved that. And I guess that sparked my interest. So when I first started uni, I was working part-time as a teller in a bank. And it's just something that I've always loved doing. And I knew that that was what I wanted to do, which I know is the most bizarre statement,
Wow.
because how many kids grow up saying, I want to work in a bank? Like, it doesn't happen. But for me, that is how it kind of occurred. And so just kind of worked my way through all of the different banking roles over the years. And then had some children, took some time off, opened my own business during that time. So whilst I was on leave, I opened a yoga studio, which is again flowing through that kind of wellness passion for sports. And that was really
Not
successful.
your
It was in
average
regional
banker
Victoria.
with a yoga
I
studio.
know.
Wow.
Banker
Love it.
with
I love
yoga.
it.
Yeah, so it was a great business in regional Victoria. It was quite large, actually. It just went boom really quickly. So that was fantastic experience. COVID hit. I got divorced, and so I thought it was time to get back my career. And I was then introduced to the man I'm now working for at RedZed, so the CEO of RedZed, Calvin Caudle. So I was introduced to him at NAB. We instantly connected, just the same sort of values, same mindset. And so worked for him for 5 years in private banking. So we went through a really great journey. Private banking wasn't really known in Australia previously. It certainly wasn't known in NAB. So we really kind of started that whole process of setting up what private banking looked like in Australia. So that journey was amazing. It was also quite transformative for me as an individual. So a female in private banking is unusual, fair to say. And so I am not your stereotype. So that was a awesome journey that we went on to try and open the doors around what is private banking, because it's not what people think it is. And so it was great. It ended up in some fantastic awards. I was awarded Global Private Banker of the Year, which was a fantastic award on the global stage against some amazing, well, all of the competitors across the world. And that kind of, I guess, put some focus around who I was as an individual and the things that I've been doing. So then that opened a lot more doors. Calvin then decided to make a move and went across to be the CEO of RedZed about 18 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. And I always loved working for Calvin. I think when you find someone you really respect and grow with, it's a really easy decision to make when the door gets knocked on to go and do something different. So for me, this is the perfect landing point. I get to work with someone who I really respect. I get to a job that I love, but I also get to work in a space that is my true passion, which is the self-employed. So I think all of those things combined has led me to where I am today.
You started a yoga studio. COVID hit. Obviously, no yoga.
Correct. Yep, that's exactly
Crazy.
right.
You should
So
have kept it open. You should have just gone rogue and kept it open, knowing what we know now.
I should have, right? And it was in regional Victoria.
Yeah.
They weren't even that badly hit. Uh,
Yeah.
so I've always had a passion for wellness and sport. So I grew up as an athlete. I was a swimmer, still am a swimmer. And so for me, that is a big part of my life and my identity. So sport and movement and wellness is who I am. It's a value. It's part of my core belief. So I've always practiced yoga, sometimes on and off. Like it's a bit of a roller coaster. Sometimes it's better years than others. But I think I was looking for something that I was really, again, passionate about, but also something that could fit with my life. I had two small children, and I didn't have the capacity to work full time. My then husband was also running a really big business, so it was a lot about the right balance and fit for the family environment, and it just made sense. There wasn't any yoga studio of that nature in regional Victoria. And so I researched. I love researching, so I spent a lot of time researching, and then bought an old factory in Shepparton, and between my dad and myself, we transformed it into a Japanese haven, and it was a hot yoga studio. So with the aim being that it was more focused on wellness as opposed to spirituality. And so what that meant was that I attracted a really diverse clientele. So it was 50% males, 50% females, which is quite unusual in the yoga space. And yeah, as I said, it was really big. Like we had, I think at one stage there was 27 classes a week, 6 yoga teachers. It was really busy from day one. Like it was just, everyone loved it. It was hit. So I think it was a place that people could go and kind of chill out from the day and regroup, refresh, and go again. But also, it was a proper workout, right? Like it was hard. Yoga is hard if you do it right. So, I think it was a really great journey, and it taught me a lot. You know, from building a business literally from scratch. I was painting the outdoor walls of the business to, actually running it was a really good experience.
Fantastic. And that's you mentioned something. So spirituality, does it link to wellness in your view? Like wellness is thrown around a lot. Like
To
what is
me,
wellness?
yeah, I think it's a good question. I think because it does mean different things to different people all the time. I think for me, wellness is about just having balance in your life. And so, really trying to work out what are the things that make you feel good and how do you bring more of those in your life. And so, for me, we spoke about before, I am very much, I love the numbers, I love delivering on a profit and loss statement. But I also know that you can't do that every day of the week and you have to have some balance in your life to be a whole person. And so that's where, for me, when I talk about wellness, it literally means exercise, eating well, taking care of myself, getting enough sleep. Um, I still drink alcohol. I still love to have a great time. That is balance for me. I think, yeah, I've been watching this space a lot over the years, and I feel like we're almost going too extreme to no drinking whatsoever. You can only eat this, you can only eat that, you can only do this. And for me, that doesn't represent balance. I absolutely understand that that works for some people, but I also think that that could potentially be a dangerous message for society. Like, I think when we start limiting things, it becomes really difficult. So for me, it's like everything's on the table. Whatever works for you, give it a go, and finding how that kind of balance and routine works in an everyday life. That represents wellness to me.
Mm. I interviewed a guy who's become a good friend of mine, Darren Bauman, and he was the ex Manchester City Junior Academy director for 15 years. And we're talking
Yeah,
about
amazing.
talent identification and talent development. And what stuck with me was many things actually, but one thing stuck with me, which was there's only 2 questions you need to ask your kid, your young player. And that is, are you healthy? Are you happy? That's it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's pretty basic.
100%.
Are you healthy? Are
100%.
you happy? And that can mean different things for different people.
Yep.
But there's
Agree.
too
I
many
think
people
people
unhappy.
forget about this. Yeah, people forget about happiness, right? Like people, I see it with my children. There's a lot of focus around the academic pressure that they have to achieve at their school. For me, it's like, are you happy? Do you go to school happy every day? Like, because
Mm.
actually the other stuff will probably come if you're really happy. But if you're miserable, it's really hard to learn.
Do we want to go down this rabbit hole, Nat, about the educational system? Because
No,
it might.
don't. I am not a good. Joe, I have
I
polar
just want to see
opposites.
my kids get up excited every day to go to school. But you're screaming at them to get them out of bed. On a Saturday
Yeah.
though, they're up at 6:00. Why? So you know what I mean. Like, and I feel for the teachers because I do a lot of training, and I
Yeah.
consider myself very, very good. And I've got to work hard to keep them engaged for 2 or 3 days. That's adults. So teachers, 5 days a week, 360. How many weeks a year? Like it's a tough job,
It
and they're
is,
now
right?
competing with TikTok. So it's definitely a brave new world. But we do know this: the world needs great teachers.
Yeah,
The world
exactly.
needs
And look,
great coaches and
so
mentors.
right. Yes. Yes, agree. Like when you find one, you just want to wrap your arms around them and keep them forever.
Where do you draw inspiration from?
Yeah, good question. Heaps. So is the answer. In terms of focusing on my own development, it's probably something always in the back of my mind. I'm always thinking about how I can be better. I do a lot of reading. I listen to lots of different podcasts. So for me, that's probably how I absorb information now.
Give me a top 3 podcast, please, Nat.
Oh, so I love Chris Williamson. Like, I think 2
Yep.
reasons. He's English. My partner's English. I love the accent. But I also really love his story of where he's come from to where he is today. I find him incredibly articulate and interesting guests that he has on. So I really like him. I love Rich Roll. Rich Roll, from a athletic perspective, always has really interesting guests on. So for me, really like Rich Roll. He's key. And then from a business perspective, I quite like The Diary of a CEO. So those are kind of my top 3 that I would listen to. And I genuinely, well, I used to listen to them when I was running all the time. That was kind of my time of absorbing information. But now I'm finding I use that in the car. So that's one kind of way. I also use Chat GPT a lot these days. So I spend a lot of time driving into the office. And so I have a paid prescription on ChatGPT, and I use that to have a conversation about things that I might be wanting to understand more of. So a good example is, like, yesterday I needed to understand a piece of legislation. So I was speaking to ChatGPT whilst I was driving so I could learn about that legislation before I got into the office. So I guess I'm trying to use my ways productively. In terms of mentors, had so many throughout my life. It's something that I don't know whether I seek out or just naturally kind of happens, but I always find that there's someone at some point in my life. There's certainly been someone that's been consistent over the years. So I was really fortunate at NAB when I was really young. I think we share a good friend, Greg Harris. He'll know this person as well.
Hello, G-Man.
Hello,
A
G-Man.
great man.
He is a great man. So when we first started out as executives, we were given the opportunity to have an executive psychologist, and that was an amazing experience. We had him for 2 years, and he is some 20 years later still involved in my life. And he's just a really good sounding board. So if there's something going on, we can have the conversation. We try to work it through. And I really respect Kevin from that perspective. But then I think people come in and out when you need them. So I'm always thinking about that. But I will say probably my greatest influences, which I find an interesting thing, is men. So I actually haven't had many women over the years that have either one wanted to reach out or wanted to kind of be a mentor, or I haven't been exposed to them. But most of them, 99%, it's been men.
That is interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, isn't it?
I think the power of mentorship, like wellness, you think about mental health, stress, anxiety, depression, we are at record highs, which is crazy given the abundance we live in. Like, there's never been a better time to live, I don't think.
It's amazing,
depending
right?
on where in Australia that is, obviously different parts of the world, different story. But I think it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I do think having people in your circle that you trust as mentors or advisors or friends or people that you trust that have an ability to be genuinely interested in your best interests and invested in listening and learning about, giving you a space to be vulnerable
Absolutely.
is such a precious thing. And I don't think it's common. I really don't think it's common. I think
you're
more,
right.
I think it's interesting that you haven't got women. You'd think women, can we use the word women, men? I
We
think
can.
we had it.
It's fine.
We can, thank God for that.
As long as we acknowledge everyone, but we can.
Yes, we must acknowledge everyone. We know this. But humans, we're all humans.
Yep,
We
absolutely.
just call each other humans. I think that's interesting that they're largely men, but I think it's just who's in your circle.
Yeah, and I
who
think
you
it
have
probably
access
goes
to.
to the industry I work in as well. So I think that's the other part. Like, I work in a really highly dominated male space, and so there's not a lot of women in this space. And I don't know too many little girls growing up saying, I want to work in finance. It's not a common situation. So hence a lot of what I do is honestly trying to break down those stereotypes, break down those barriers, and actually make finance a lot more appealing for people. Because you go to your point around happiness. Let's be honest, finance is a part of that. Like, a lot of people are in very difficult situations because of their financial outcomes and their financial situation. And, the stats are not good about women understanding their finances. And so for me, that's around, how do I kind of help that next generation of girls understand what they can do to become financially secure and financially independent?
Financial literacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think it's an issue for men. As all humans, it's an issue. It's an
It
issue.
is. Yeah, it
But I
is. You're
think
right.
we're ultimately chasing freedom,
Yeah,
happiness and freedom.
exactly.
Freedom to live on our terms.
Exactly.
And it does
However you want
take
to
money.
live.
It
Yeah,
takes money.
it
Yeah.
does. It takes money.
You have to pay bills, keep the lights on. So
Yeah.
it's a really big part of how we live in the modern world. But do you think think about women in sales
Hmm.
or business? The world has changed a lot, but is it? So I would say, all things being equal, females win in sales. I often see when you have a mixed sales team that the women are often the high performers.
Hmm.
But then you see some industries where it's just there's no women at all. It's
Yeah.
very, very old school, male dominated. So, are the rules different for women in business, do you think, and in particular sales, in your view?
Yeah, I think you probably hit the nail on the head when you were talking about different industries. I think that is absolutely right. I think it's different for different industries. My experience is similar to yours. So, women on the front line doing the actual sales. So, rolling up their sleeves, getting the actual sales themselves. My experience is that they are often outperforming their men counterparts. I don't really know why that is. I think that they just have a huge hunger. They're very determined. Women have a lot of guilt complex sort of stuff, so they're kind of trying to maybe outprove. I don't know. There's probably a multitude of reasons why, but I would say what is different is women running sales teams aren't very common in my industry. And so, you have a very large scale sales team. Mostly that is run by men. And hence why you've got a lot of companies putting in gender quotas to actually break that kind of change down, because it
Mm.
it appears that between doing the sales and then managing the sales is a big dropout rate. So I've done lots of research into those reasons why, and it really is a multitude of reasons. But, predominantly it's very difficult for a woman who's had children to then want to come back and step up into that next level. We don't, as a society, make that easy. And so I think that kind of turns people off in many ways, to take that kind of next step and run sales teams.
I don't come across many sales leaders or managers that are female,
Yeah, I know,
and
right?
that's a
Pretty
problem
scary.
because I also don't come across a lot of quality sales leaders that are men. So hence the need to
Oh, there
that
you
the
go.
must we've got to shake it up a little bit. Because to me, in my
Yeah.
world, well, this is my world though, Nat, that people don't contact Boom if they're booming. They
Yeah.
contact Boom for help if there's a problem. And
Yeah,
the
that's
problem's
true.
usually big.
Yep.
So it's typically, part of that problem is usually the sales leader. There's
Yeah.
no sales leader,
Yeah.
or there's an inept sales leader. So I think just for me, it's just give me the best human for the job. I don't care whether it's man, woman, or beast. I really just want the best person that's going to deliver that function towards that vision. I
I
do one of the
agree a little bit, but to one extent to that point. And this is something that's my views changed over time, and it's a little bit controversial, and I understand that. But having worked in this space for a long time, I had always the same view, Trent. Best person for the job. But the problem is that often women don't put their hand up,
mm,
and until we say, actually, you know what? No, we need a woman for that job, nothing changes.
yes,
And so I saw this really clearly. Calvin, when we were running the NAB private team over there, it was a really big problem for us to attract females into leadership roles like we're talking about. And he was very brave at the time and very forward thinking, and just actually said, you know what? I I think we have to make a mandate here and say we need to have more women in this role. And if that means that we need to say we can only look at female candidates in order to change this, let's think about how we do that. Now that caused a lot of ripples, right? Like there was all sorts
mm,
of things that happened out of that. But what we saw is we turned the dial. And so we actually went from 40% to 60% female leaders because we made that conscious decision to say,
yeah,
actually,
yeah,
we need more.
yep.
And until you do that, nothing changes, because it's really easy to pick the men when you've got 10 men applying and one woman. Yeah.
Like often when I go into a business, it's male dominated, and I am recommending strongly to bring in female energy
Females. Yeah, that's
because the
right. Yeah.
female energy changes the dynamic. It changes everything in terms of how the team interacts, the cohesion, the ideas, um,
Absolutely. Like, if
and
I'm thinking about how I build an A team, like I'm looking at gender, race, cultural background, educational background. I want a mix of everything. Like I want a melting pot of in my team so that I've got such diverse views. Because how can you serve your client right if you are not a representation of your client base? And so I always think you have to represent your client base if you order to truly be customer centric.
Okay, so I'm going to fire one at you.
Yeah, go for it. I
We
love it.
got
Ooh.
3 A-grade men here. Mandates to
Yeah.
find females. 3 A-graders, quality A-graders, 1 C-grade woman.
Yeah.
What's the
And I obviously
decision-making
need a woman,
process
is
if the
what we're saying.
mandate is to just go with female?
You know, it depends
I'm
on
just
what the C
saying, what's
grade's
the...
for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it because it's a
What's...
lack of experience, but actually she has the qualities and the skills to do the job, but she's never been given the opportunity? Then
Mhm.
absolutely, I would probably consider the female. But if we're talking about, other issues around performance or behavioural or those sorts of things, that I think that's a different conversation. And, you have to look at that before you take that person on board. But if it's simply because she hasn't been given the opportunity, no one's given her a seat at the table, but actually she's got some pretty good track record, then if you know that's going to dynamically change your business, then why wouldn't you give that a go? Because there's already 3
Absolutely.
great men. If it doesn't work out, I can always get a great man. Oh my gosh, I feel like
Plenty,
I'm gonna cop some flack over
plenty out
this. I
there.
can just feel
Plenty
it.
out there. I think I might have shared this with you, Nat. Well, I'm a very male-dominated company, sales team. We went hunting for A-graders. We found a female in New Zealand. I said, we need females in the team. She moved across from New Zealand and went literally straight to the top of the leaderboard, top 3.
Wow.
With no,
Okay.
you know what I mean? So, because she was just an absolute A-grader.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
she ate the men alive.
It's
So
amazing.
to me, but we had to hunt her. We had to turn over rocks
You
and
do.
find
Yep.
her. And then we brought other females on the journey as well. So I've sort of been through this process a few times, but that
It's tricky, right?
it is
It
tricky.
causes issues, and you've got to be prepared to wear them. But the facts are there. Like the stats are there that women don't put up their hand for jobs if they are not 100% sure that they can do the job. Whereas a
Mm,
man is very happy to put up their hand for a job, even if they're missing 3 or 4 of the qualifications for a job. It's proven. It's everywhere in stats. You can check it
yeah,
all out. So you do have to hunt for them, is the point.
absolute list management. I often ask a managing director, CEO, can you hand on heart say that you've absolutely hunted, turned over every rock possible to find quality A-grade people? And the
Yep.
answer is typically always, we rely on recruiters.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know what I
And
mean?
often,
So it's like the answer is no,
yeah,
we haven't.
yep. Yeah, that's right.
They're out
Exactly.
there, but you got to hunt.
Got to hunt. Yeah, take some time. Yep.
Yeah. All great teams. You can't do much without a quality list.
Absolutely.
Um,
Agree.
what are you most passionate about in business and in life, Nat? I want to talk about passion.
Yeah, passion. I've got lots of it. I'm a passionate person. I love people, Trent. I know that sounds really dorky. I am curious about people, both in and out of work. And so I want to know what makes you tick. I want to understand your background. I want to know who you are. And the same in my personal life. Like, we could go to the coffee shop and I'll be chatting to the person making me a coffee and I just want to understand them. I get a real kick out of that. Like for me, that's important. And then from a business perspective, like
Now, where does
once
that
you
come from? Just to take it back a little bit, because that's really refreshing to hear that.
yeah, if I'm honest, like I think about, I grew up in a really traditional Scottish household. So anyone who's Scottish would understand this, that you have people coming in and out of your house all day long drinking cups of tea. And so always when I was growing up, my mum would have her friends, my dad would have his mates. I come from a really large family. There's busyness and conversation always happening, like always. And so for me, maybe that's where it comes from, is that it's just been such a fundamental thing in my upbringing that conversation is part of what we do. And I think even now, my parents are in their 80s. They spend a lot of time with me. They look after my children when I'm traveling. Honestly, they never stop talking, Trent. Like they come here, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want 1 minute.
Word count through the roof.
Yeah,
Love
but
it.
even with my kids, like they're constantly interacting, and I can see it with my children now as well. Is that they're really interested in people, so they're always curious, researching, finding out. So maybe it's just those
Mm,
fundamental things at home, like how you're brought up. I think really dictates who you become, and I think
certainly
curiosity's
helps.
always been there.
Yeah, it can
Yeah,
be communication style based. It can be more
yeah,
social, but it's a beautiful thing. Like the art of conversation
yeah,
is, when you meet someone who understands the art of conversation, they're conscious of word count, listening, heart listening, active listening. They're not just waiting for an opportunity to speak. They're genuinely interested in you. You
yeah.
sort of go, wow, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely, and I've had the most honestly, I've got the coolest stories over the years about stuff that's happened, like, people on planes that share things, and then they want you to kinda look after their finances, or people that put you in contact with other people across the globe because something's happened and you've had this great conversation, like, there is so many beautiful things that come out of it, and yeah, I think if you use it for the right way, like, it's such a fantastic thing, and so
Mm.
that even flows into social media for me as well. So I know social media is a hot topic and, can be seen as a really bad place, but for me, it's an amazing place, and it's an amazing place to communicate with different people, and so I think that's just genuinely my style is,
Mm.
I really love people. Yeah.
Yeah, I often asked, is the social media this sort of rapid evolution with, you know, digital interaction? Is it a good or a bad
Yeah.
thing? The overwhelming response is bad. And
Yeah.
I often ask on that sort of line of thinking, are we more connected or less connected thanks to social media? And the common response is we're actually in contact more, but we're less connected.
Less
It's more
connected.
transactional. So I think we've got to find a balance in this very unique time, I think, where these devices are just ubiquitous. Everyone's on them. The kids are addicted to them. Adults are addicted to them. So I think I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if there's a shift happening where we're going to say, okay, well, they're really good. They help us, but we've got to be careful we don't abuse them. Like anything in life, most good things are abused.
Yeah, I was gonna say it comes back to that initial conversation we had around balance. So, this forms part of wellness, like, it's balance. So I'm quite strict with how I use technology in many ways, and so I am a frequent user of social media,
Would you
but
hang
I
on, hang on, hang
choose.
on, Nat? And would you say addict? Are you addicted?
No, no, I'm not addicted.
Frequent? Hell,
Frequent when I say,
what's
like,
your screen time?
I don't even know, I've never even looked, to be
Oh,
honest.
and it
There
can't be anything over 6 hours is a problem. Um,
Okay, I'll look for you and tell you. I don't know, I don't know.
I'd love to
But
know.
I
Can you
use it.
tell me off air?
Yeah, I'll have a look for you.
Yeah.
So I choose to share a very small part of my life, but I am very conscious that many people think that's a very large part of my life and that's who I am, but it's one snippet in my day of my life. And so, I consciously think about that and what I share and how I kind of work with that. But then outside of that, there's lots of areas of my life that are protected from social media that I don't need to share and that I don't want to, because that's my life, my bubble that I get to kind of connect with people in a different way.
Mm.
And so I'm conscious about that, and that's kind of the balance that I've found with how I use it. It's also part of my work. I'm the chief of marketing for a company. So social media is super important for me from that perspective. But I think you have to consciously think about how you use it and why you're using it.
Mm.
And so if you understand those two things, I think you have a bit more control about it. But yeah, certainly I feel like I don't feel like I'm out of control, or that I don't feel like it's an issue for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing. It's healthy. Like, it all comes back to balance. I agree.
Yeah. It's
Hey,
interesting.
we didn't get what you're passionate about, and we're passionate about people
Yes.
in business,
Yeah.
which is a very good thing, because I do come across people that don't like people. That's a problem.
Shouldn't
It's
be
a
in
problem in
business.
business if you don't like people.
Yeah.
Um, but what about like what's your number one passion outside of business?
So yeah, sport,
Yes.
definitely. So I am a avid swimmer, runner, do weights. I've done lots of different things in my life. I was a bodybuilder at one stage, Trent. So there you go. That's
Wow.
yeah, different. Actually,
Wow.
we can talk
A
about. You can ask
meathead.
G. Yeah, you can ask G Man G Harris that one. He was during that period, so he'll know all about that.
Okay. Okay. Are we
Um,
talking competition sort of level?
yes, yeah, competition. So
Nat, you're kidding me.
yeah, so I was on
Wow.
stage. I wasn't big, right? Like, it's all about proportions.
You're
I was quite.
ripped. Were you
Yeah, I
ripped?
was ripped. I was tiny but
Ripped.
ripped. Yeah.
Covered in
So
fake tan and ripped.
yeah, Vegemite basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really passionate about.
So you're competitive. You got a very competitive streak to you.
Yeah, I am a type personality every day of the week. So, and I know that I'm okay with that, but I'm competitive with myself mostly. So I don't feel the need to compete with anyone else other than myself. So for me, it's always been about, how do I push myself to see what I'm made of? That's always been the case.
What about losing? How do
Um,
what's your relationship like with defeat?
Oh my gosh, do you know what my first thought came through my head when you asked that? And I feel bad even thinking about it, but I was like, I just don't let myself lose. Like, isn't that terrible? But
Yeah.
because I'll keep
It's not
trying
an
until
option.
I win.
It's not an
It's not
option.
an option.
No.
But
Losing is not an option.
I will say, Trent, I just run the. You know what? This is a really good story, and I haven't thought about my learnings out of it yet. But I ran the Melbourne Marathon, and I trained. I ran all my life. I trained. I did it with a friend. I ran for charity. I had a disaster of a run. Like, it
Just
was
it busted
awful.
your hip in this one.
Yes. So at 30 Ks, I hurt myself, and I knew I hurt myself really bad, but I didn't know what was going on. And so my friend Nimi turned up at the 30K mark because she could see on my timing that something had gone wrong. And she helped me get across the line. So I finished, and I did not finish anywhere near the time that I wanted to. And I was in a lot of pain, and I was on crutches for a couple of weeks afterwards, thinking it was a muscle issue. And I just got told this week that I've actually got a crack in my femur. And so I need to go and have like quite major surgery next week to get it fixed. So for me, that period before I knew what had happened, I felt like I failed. So I was absolutely beating myself up that that was my marathon story, and I couldn't live with it. I was so annoyed. I was like planning my next one, thinking about getting to New York, how that was going to go. And now I've had to really reassess. I won't be a long distance runner anymore in the future, and so for me, that's a loss, right? And so I need to kind of process that and work through it and think about what that means, think about the learnings, and also how do I channel that energy into something else.
Your life after running.
Life after
What does
running.
that look like?
I don't know, back into the pool, which, it's okay, but it's not the same as running.
No, no. It's definitely, if it's a genuine passion, I think finding something that you love to do and it's not, a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to exercise because it feels like work,
Yeah.
and I don't like going to the gym. I don't like getting on the treadmill. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like, well, okay, well, you got to find something that you love that doesn't feel like you're really working,
Yeah.
so it
I've
sounds
never
like that.
struggled. It sounds like you've never struggled with that either. I've never struggled with that, but I know that people do. I just don't. It doesn't just enter my mind. It's like every day you get up and you do something. It's just part of life. But
Mm, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And your
I
body
know it's
craves it
hard.
once you get into the rhythm. It's the
Yeah, it's part of
habits,
keeping
it's the habits
mental
that,
health well. Like it's all those things. Yeah,
yeah. You said come back to basics all the time. Just sleep, rest, recovery, diet, exercise, being around great people, following passions,
exactly.
all basics, really basic stuff that we got to just master.
Yeah,
Easy to say, harder to do.
yeah. It's consistently boring. I like to say.
Consistently boring. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Master the mundane, Nat.
Oh, that's so much better.
Yeah, master the mundane. I've heard that. That's a great. You got to master the mundane.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
use that one. That's way better than consistently
That's not
boring.
mine. I don't know where that came from.
Okay.
I borrowed it somewhere along the line. We want to talk hacks for wellness
Yep.
and high performance because I'm all over this stuff like a rash. The direct link between energy,
Yeah.
the transfer of energy, positive energy, and better everything, better relationships,
Yeah.
better business, better people, better business, fully energized. Having people working from a place of love and care and absolute engagement, they have to be feeling good.
Yeah. Something I did at NAB for a long time. Many in my team have done this, but we implemented it there and I've now brought it over to RedZed is that every Monday we make a sales commitment of what we want to achieve from a sales perspective, but we also make a well-being commitment. And so everyone in the team makes a commitment to what they're going to do for their well-being. And it can be anything. So I've seen all sorts of stuff over the years, like, walk the dog, go to bed early, run a marathon, win a boxing fight was one of them. And we hold each other accountable to that. So I think that's, first of all, just putting it on the radar that that is an
Mm,
important thing that we believe in our team and that actually we encourage
love it.
it. So that's really key from a sales perspective. I also have this view that we work in an adult environment. And so, if that means that you need to go for a run at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because that's the only time that you can fit it in, or do whatever you need to do it. And then jump online later. I really want people to prioritize their health because, like you said, if you are healthy, you are going to perform better. And so, for me, I parent the children mostly during the week on my own. And so that means that I have to prioritize my schedule to make things work. So I don't have this perfect situation where I can work out in the morning or work out at night. It has to work within my diary and when I've got some support around me. So I share that same philosophy with my team, is do what works for you. And I have trust that you're going to do all of the right things and when that needs to happen.
Mm.
And 99% of the time, it works out really well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of my DNA in how I lead, is probably the first thing, because I believe in it myself. It's important, so I make it a priority for the whole team. From a personal perspective, like I said to you, I schedule my workout time every day, so it's literally in my calendar when I'm going to do it, so that I just make sure I can have the time to fit that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I eat really well. Like I'm not on some crazy diet that's, on the social media. I just eat everything. I eat clean. I just
Clean.
eat the proportions that I need to eat.
Clean
Clean. I just
eating.
eat clean. Yes. We don't eat a lot of processed foods. My children are massive cookers as well. So we, on a Sunday afternoon, we will do batch cooking for the week so that we're organized, and my kids are involved in that, which I think is really important. So for them, the way we eat is just completely normal. But my daughter recently told me that like she is top of the pops in her class about how she eats and how she goes to bed on time and has a rhythm and a routine. And I
Yes.
think it's probably because I'm militant about it, which is, I don't know, not good, but it's turning out okay. Um, and I don't drink too much, Trent. Like I love a glass of red wine or two glasses
Mm.
of red wine.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Passion.
Yes.
Good
Passion.
Tasmanian Pinot, amazing. But I don't really go to extremes because I just can't deal with the hangovers and what that then does for my brain for the next week. So I'm
Absolutely.
just conscious about that. Yeah.
Tassie Pinot, I'll make a note of that.
Yes.
Tassie Pinot.
Good
Yeah, I don't
boys
mind a
Pinot.
margarita.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
I love
drinking
a
it.
marg too.
I love a margarita. I'm not drinking at all at the moment. I'm just off completely. But yeah, I think
Do you
it,
notice a
it depends
difference?
what sort of rig you're running.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
running
right.
a bloody Lamborghini. I'm putting premium fuel in.
It's
I'm not
exact.
putting that
Someone said
rubbish
that to
in. I'm
me.
not putting just standard petrol in.
No, that's exactly right. I'm running a Ferrari. Like,
you got you got to absolutely fuel with the right fuel.
yeah,
Um,
that's it.
it's just quickly. One of my kids is texting Nat, just to make
Sure.
quickly just check everything's all right.
Yeah, understand completely.
We this time of day very active,
It
finishing
is a time
school.
of day.
I was joking about the daddy bank and the daddy Uber. So you usually get a text. It's either one of the two.
So true.
Um, okay, daddy Uber is going to be coming soon. Where were we? Diet. I'll edit that
Yes,
out. Don't worry, or
it's
leave it
all
in. I'm
good.
not sure.
It's all good.
Yeah, I think that where the link there is, you've got your sales goal and you've got your health goal, your wellness goal.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you can go and you want to ride, you go for a run, do it at 2:00 whenever works for you. But
Yep.
I don't mind, me personally as a leader, Nat, I don't mind what you do if you're hitting your numbers.
Yep.
You can go to the beach day 14.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because
Agree.
ultimately it's an outcome game.
Yep.
So 365 weeks, days a year, or let's say your rhythm's 48 weeks a year, you're taking your four weeks off, which is probably not healthy anyway. If it's a results business, then the results the priority. And
Yep.
if you hit the result, you can do whatever you like. But I think it's when people aren't hitting their targets, when those targets are maybe unrealistic, they're set by some crazy CFO
Yep.
who's very ambitious with
Yep.
no real sense of reality and market changes, that the pressure comes on and salespeople are expected to hit numbers they can't hit, and they're not allowed the flexibility. It's like, well, John's gone home.
Correct.
Of course he has. Have a look at his numbers. You know what I mean? Like that's why he's failing. But so it's the old saying, it takes a village.
Oh yeah, my gosh, that's my
Um,
saying. I talk about that all the time.
Hallelujah,
Like,
sister.
yeah, it's a
So
big one for
when the
me.
right numbers are aligned with the right people, then these sorts of quality cultural elements materialize.
100%.
Um,
I'm with you. I couldn't agree more that yeah, I think that's balance, right? Like I don't have this philosophy that you have to clock in at 8:30 and clock out at 5 and be productive. Like if that's not how you work, you are not going to be productive. So,
yes, yes,
I I'm really productive early in the morning, so I often will jump online at sort of 5:30, get some emails done, get organized, but I'm not overly productive at
What time
night.
do you go to bed, Nat?
Oh, I'm like a 9:30.
Yeah.
Yes, I've always been a morning person. So for me, that's my productive time. And I'm really open and honest with my team about that. So I say to them, if you're getting an email at 6 in the morning, it's not what I expect you to do. That's how I work. But I
Mm,
probably won't answer an email that you give me at 8 o'clock at night because I'm not productive at that point in time.
gotcha. I'm the opposite. I'm just come alive after midnight. No, I'm
So many
I'm very
people are
much
like you.
I'm at night very active.
Yep.
So I have mechanisms to calm myself, meditation, music. I turn the lights
Ah,
off. I put the candles on. I do my
yep.
meditation at night to get me into sleep zone.
Yep.
Otherwise, my mind goes to, so everyone's
Places.
different. But I do envy the
100%.
people that can just bounce out of bed at 5.
Don't know if I bounce, but I am awake. I can't get back to sleep. So I
Yeah.
just kind of get up. But there's really cool studies about this, particularly about couples, right, who are mismatched, like night owls versus morning
Mm.
birds. And like it's really interesting the conflicts that causes in relationships. So even knowing that about that in a personal situation, I think is
I love
important.
that.
And how do you
Okay, I'm going
kind
to
of
add that
work
to
with
the
it?
questions on the dating apps. No, I'm not on the dating apps. I'm not on there. I was once on the dating apps. No.
Oh, there you go.
No,
No, I
what's your
never was
love?
on the dating apps. Oh my God, I
What's
never
your
did
love
that.
language? What's your love language? And we have to ask now, are you an owl or what's the other one? An
An
owl
early
or
bird. Yeah, I'm an early bird.
are you an owl or a
100%.
rooster? Um, so they're good questions to ask if you're
They
dating.
are 100%.
I love the fact that you're building in the wellness, happiness, peace to the targets. That's a great takeaway for anyone listening, any leader listening. They're both intrinsically linked. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to catching up in the flesh very soon.
Sounds great. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, Trent.
Thank you. You are important, Nat.
Bye.
See you soon.